The following is intended for mature audiences only. Discretion is advised.
This episode of Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes is brought to you by Ugly Drinks. Ugly is a company that makes sparkling water with real fruit flavor. No sugar, no sweetener, nothing artificial. And with every purchase, a percentage goes to the Girl Up campaign. Ugly Drinks comes in delicious flavors like peach, lemon lime, cherry, and my personal favorite, watermelon. And guess what, Childlike at Best listeners? You can receive 10% off your first order by using the code UGLYMIKE at checkout. It's true. Usually calling me ugly would be offensive in real life, but at uglydrinks.com, it'll save you money. Visit uglydrinks.com and use the code UGLYMIKE to get 10% off your order. It's time to get real. It's time to get ugly. What's up, besties? I don't know about you, but this is episode 22 of Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes, and guess what? I am still the second part of that title. If you're listening to this on release day, I will be at the Down Low Comedy Show at the Speakeasy Theater in Miami Beach, Florida. Doors open at 8. The show starts at 8:30. It's going to be such a fun show. So many great comics. Come on out if you're in the area. It's going to be really, really fun. Also, I have a really big announcement. On November 8th through the 10th, I'm going to be at the Gamer Comic Expo. I'm going to be moderating a few panels. I'm not really sure which ones just yet. More details to come. But also, there will be a live Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes. The guest is to be determined, but it is going to be awesome. So get your tickets at gamercomicexpo.com and come watch a live podcast. It's going to be super fun. Hopefully it'll be really funny as well. It would be great to have a bunch of besties out in the audience supporting and wearing merch. Also, another thing, we have merch. It's on tpublic.com. It's on tpublic/storefront/childlike at best. We have t-shirts, hoodies, sweaters, anything you could possibly drape over your body to not feel naked, we've got it. I will also be sure to put a link for all of the show tickets as well as the merch in the show notes as well. This episode is Richy and Ben Leis. They're the founders of a nonprofit organization called Comic Cure, which is a nonprofit organization that helps people in need using comedy. This is actually their 4-year anniversary, which is amazing, and we actually recorded this in the midst of the Flamingo Comedy Festival, which is a 2-week-long comedy festival that they created, and it was an absolute blast. I will say there is a little bit of a sound issue. There was a lot of construction happening, and I tried taking a lot of that out. But again, if you're anything like me, you're skipping through this intro, and you're going to complain to me afterwards, so see you in the comments. However, these guys and Comic Cure are very important to me. In fact, Richy was one of the first people I met when I moved out to Los Angeles. They're just doing great things, and I'm so happy to call them friends. So without further ado, please enjoy this episode with Richy and Ben Leis. Hey everybody, this is Childlike at Best with Mike Valdes. Hey guys, guess what? I'm Mike Valdes, and that's construction happening. So today I have two very special guests with me. I have Richy Leis and Ben Leis.
Hey there.
How you guys doing?
Good morning.
Wonderful. Do you ever have not special guests?
Just
Sometimes.
Just guests.
Yeah, whenever it's just me. You know what I mean? That is very true. Every guest is special in their own way, at least to me. So before I get started, before I ask both of you your first question, the first thing I want to do is I want to take a Flintstones vitamin with you guys because it usually harkens back to childhood, and that's what we like to do here at Childlike at Best.
Nice.
So those are the Flintstones Complete Gummy Bears right there. They're not the tablets, so you're welcome.
Has it been opened before?
It has. I actually just bought that, so it's brand new.
Do you do this with all the guests?
I do. Yeah.
Oh, they're gummies.
Yeah, they're gummy bears.
This is not a vitamin.
I got Pebbles.
There you go.
Tastes like
You got
Pebbles.
Pebbles?
Does it?
Pebbles is the little girl.
Yeah.
Yes.
I got Pebbles as well.
There you go. Seems to be...
You didn't take one.
I didn't. You're right. That's because they're poison. I'm kidding. I will take one, but I'll ask you your first question while I do that. Can you please tell the audience where both of you grew up?
West Philadelphia. West of Philadelphia.
Yeah, west of Philadelphia, Lower Merion.
Yeah.
Known for Kobe Bryant and Hope's Cookies.
And the beginning of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme song.
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
great.
He grew up near where we were from.
Really? You guys were the ones playing basketball in the theme song, right?
Yeah. That was us.
That's crazy.
Two white Jewish kids.
Yeah.
But that's who we played with.
What kind of kids would you say that you were growing up, at least at home? Like, did you guys get along? Did you guys...
Yeah, we shared a room for 17 years.
Holy
basically.
cow. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
I don't think we got along once adolescence hit. That was that was a very ugly time.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember it.
Really?
Oh,
That's
sure
funny. What can you tell some stories?
Yeah, I don't think anything bad ever happened.
What?
Really?
We used to fight literally every day.
I don't remember that at all.
Yes, he's pushed it out.
Was there something
that shows you how insignificant it was to him, but how scarring
significant it was for
me.
you? Absolutely.
Yeah, we spent way too much time together.
There's
We
a
wanted to do
story.
this podcast from different rooms.
Did you really? There's a story that I feel, which, it could be embellished, who knows, but that you tell on stage about something about putting pee in a super soaker.
Yeah, that's my older brother.
That's your older brother.
Yeah,
and that
squirt
was,
gun.
and for the both of you?
No,
Did he?
they left him alone.
Oh, they left. They left Ben alone.
He was the baby. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So, what kind of kids would you say that you were at school? Like, who did you hang out with at the lunch table?
You're waking up your Siri, by the way.
Oh, am I?
I'm not sure I understand.
I honestly, Siri, I don't understand either. What kind of kids would you say that you were in school?
I mean, what are we talking about? High school?
Yeah, like around. I would say who did you hang out with at the lunch table?
High school, I
essentially?
hung out with a bunch of theater kids.
Yeah.
Orchestra, theater, the ravers almost, like premature hippies.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. And what about you, Ben?
I had like a tight group of friends in high school. I played a lot of golf. I worked in golf. That was like my passion.
Yeah.
I was like super into golf. I played competitively. I was captain of the golf team. And like every day after school, I was either working at the country club and caddying.
Yeah, it's interesting when you're a kid how much extra time you have to devote to something.
Yeah, that's very
to
true.
dedicate.
Yeah.
You actually
have
if you
hobbies.
play basketball every day, you get good at basketball. If you
Yeah.
have your instrument every day, it's good at your instrument.
Yeah.
And now I think as an adult, you're just always trying to catch up with what you meant to do that day.
Yeah, that is actually very true.
We both grew up playing basketball.
Yeah.
And then started getting like asthma. And then that just wasn't fun for me.
Of course not.
And then
yeah.
a strange turn of events happened. My grandfather passed away, and he had played golf his entire life, and now there was a set of golf clubs, and I said, I've never hit a golf ball before, really. I'll try it, and I became extremely passionate about it.
That's awesome.
And to my grandmother's bittersweet enjoyment that I never got to play with my grandfather, but that I did have a love for the game like he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And so, Richie, were you, when you're saying that you hung out with like a lot of the theater kids and stuff, would you say that you did a lot of the plays and the musicals in school and
Oh
things
yeah,
like
I was
that?
director of high school for senior year.
Okay.
And we did every play, every musical. But I also was the mascot, so I also
Were you? Okay.
was with the sports teams every day.
What was the mascot?
The Harrington Ram.
The Ram.
Yeah.
Okay,
I had
that's cool.
A big helmet.
I'm
That was a
sure.
ram.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
big
interesting.
ram horns.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He
So,
was the breakdancing ram.
did you breakdance really?
No, not really. I would dance. Yeah, I would dance.
Sure.
You
I
weren't
danced
just
a
like a
lot.
cheer mascot.
no.
You were a dancing
I
mascot.
was always doing something as the mascot.
Right.
And I got in trouble for it a lot too.
I'm sure. Yeah, that seems like it would be something that I would get in trouble for as well.
Yeah, there was always someone. I remember as a friend, the principal was Guess Who was the mascot for homecoming, and my friend Pat, who isn't, he's totally clean, he's a sober dude, he was an athlete, jokingly went up to the mascot thinking it was me to make a joke, was like, hey man, can I buy some drugs?
Oh no.
And it was the principal, so we both got suspended even though he was just joking. But that.
I didn't even bring drugs to school that day.
It was all sold out.
Yeah. That's great. So when you guys went home, what would you say your first like fandom was? Like, what was your first like TV show, book, movie, that kind of thing where you just became obsessed
Muppet
with?
Show. I loved the Muppet Show, even though it wasn't on regularly. It was on for a little bit when we were kids, and then it dissipated into Fraggle. That disappeared into, Sesame Street. Pretty much was it.
For me, the Muppets have had a few comebacks as I've been alive. But when I was a kid, they had a comeback on the Disney Channel called Muppets Tonight. Okay. And it was kind of like a Tonight Show ripoff with just the Muppets.
That's cool.
And every now and again, they'd interview like celebrities and things like that. That's how I fell in love with the Muppets and like Swedish Chef and like, all these different kinds.
I loved it because like Steve Martin was on it and
Cal
Burnett.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just classic comedians.
Absolutely.
I mean, founders.
Yeah. And what about you, Ben?
So something that I like overindulged in growing up. So we grew up with like the basic 4 big networks.
Yeah.
We didn't have cable television growing up.
Yeah, neither did I. So I'm familiar.
Thursday night television. The Cosby Show.
Yeah. So there was the Cosby Show that we were glued to every Thursday. But also we had a shore house. And in order to have television in a shore house, you have to have cable. Otherwise, you don't have TV at all.
Right.
So the summers were like binge watching Nickelodeon and MTV.
Sure.
And just being
Pete
like...
and Pete?
Yes, I love Pete and Pete.
Exactly. Pete and Pete.
Way ahead of its
Joe's
time.
Apartment.
Yes.
All the all those like those VJ summer specials and stuff.
Pauly Shore, Kennedy, and Bill Bellamy.
Man, it's funny because
you can't do this on television.
Yeah, I know that show, and I know it's funny that you're listing off all these VJs. For me, like I know the names because
how old are you?
I'm 31.
Okay.
So for me, I pretty much know Carson Daly.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then and then Pauly Shore, but mostly because Pauly Shore had a movie career as well. So then I'm like, oh, he's been the Weasel this whole time. Yeah.
And what was that one? The Weasel. It's
Well, the Weasel was from Encino Man.
Encino Man.
Yeah.
Right.
So he did that, and
he
then
still does that on stage.
I'm sure he does.
That's pretty much how he comes out. He comes out and goes, "Hey, everybody, I'm the Weasel."
Yeah.
But it's more of like an old man doing it.
Yeah.
I'm the Weasel.
Yeah. For my money, I just want him to do a couple lines from a Goofy movie. So so you guys when you guys went to the Shore House, you said?
Yeah.
That's when you guys would watch like Nickelodeon, MTV, all that kind of stuff. Here's another question, because I grew up in kind of like a conservative Christian home, and I wasn't allowed to watch a lot of things, and I wasn't even allowed to like even eat certain snacks until I went to like Bobby's house, and then I could have fruit gushers or whatever.
Yeah, we didn't ever have soda or Doritos.
I never had any of that either. That's crazy.
Yeah, we would have soda on pizza nights, like only when we ordered pizza out.
Yeah,
like Domino's or Romy's. That's when you could get a 2-liter of Coke.
Yeah, the thing that I definitely...
I didn't have mac and cheese until I was like in 5th grade.
Really?
Yeah, at my friend Peter's house, and his mom put ham in it or sausage.
Yeah.
And they had cats, which I'm allergic to, but was denying it because I never really spent time with cats, and I puked my face off all night long.
Oh my gosh.
Sausage, mac and cheese.
That's crazy.
I always remember food tasting better at other people's homes. Sure. And then bringing it back, and like even just box things like cereal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I would be like, we got to go get this, Mom. Yeah. And we'd have it in the house. And I'd be like, this isn't what I had.
Yeah.
I remember when my older brother brought Fruit Loops home from a school trip. And I never had Fruit Loops before. And he chose that as his bus snack, was a box of Fruit Loops.
Wow.
And that's a good idea for a bus snack.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Man, I'm so glad that you guys said that, because for one, a big thing I wasn't allowed to have was Lunchables. And in the 90s, the commercials were basically like, your mom doesn't love you unless you have Lunchables. You know what I mean? And so I remember only having Lunchables at my friend Moses' house. And exactly like what you're saying, Ben, it tasted 20 times better. Like I'll have them now and I'm like, this is the worst thing I've ever had.
Have you ever had the pizza Lunchable?
It's so
tomato
bad.
It's like just tomato sauce.
Yeah.
There's
like ketchup.
Something
ketchup.
so incredible to a little kid about being able to make your own little sandwiches in a prepackaged product. So a funny story about that. I think we were both at the time babysitting our nephews, and one was like, he wasn't allowed to have stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm babysitting. I don't know better. We're shopping in the supermarket, and he beelines it for the Lunchables.
Right.
And he's like, please, 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 please. And I'm like, are you sure you're allowed to have this? He's like, yes, of course. And of course I get it for him. Regrettably so. He just inhales the whole thing like it's crack.
Right.
Chugs down the Kool-Aid or High C, whatever came with it, or the Capri Sun.
Yeah.
Goes up his stairs, up to his room, and turns around and cascade vomits down the staircase. And I was like, I guess that's why we're not supposed to get Lunchables.
They're pretty gross. They're pretty disgusting.
I mean, yes, that is very true.
The lunch meat is pretty slimy.
Yeah, it's all pretty bad for sure.
Now I want a Lunchable.
Well, you guys were talking about cereals and things.
Yeah.
Were there certain cereals you weren't allowed to have either?
Any sugar cereal.
Yeah, same here.
I mean, Honey Nut
Cheerios and shredded
It
wheat.
wasn't even like Honey Nut Cheerios most of the time. It was just Cheerios.
Really?
Yeah.
Really, I think the sweetest that we could get was Kix. Have you ever had
Yeah,
Kix?
Oh,
Kix
yeah,
is
we loved
delicious.
Kix.
Yeah.
So another
Kids, what is the tagline? Kids love it, mothers approve, something
Something like
Yes,
that. Yeah,
yeah.
the Donald Glover line is it's the hand job of cereals because it's kind of sweet, but you know what I actually want.
Kid
You know?
tested, kid tested,
Kid
mother
tested, mother approved. Yeah.
So that is another thing with Down the Shore, was we weren't allowed to have the sugar cereals at home, but down the shore we could have Kix, Fruit Loops.
Man.
And it was like, it was glorious.
It really was
And
vacation.
that's why I looked so fondly upon the summer days and not so much
because we were bribed.
the rest of
Man.
the school year.
That's so funny.
They call it briabetes now.
Bribees, yeah. I was bribed as well. Like it felt the same way whenever I would go to my grandparents' house. Like for example, my parents bought me a Super Nintendo, but it was only at my grandparents' house.
Right.
So it's like, oh, so now you want to go to grandma's house, you know, and like give her the weird kisses and like, oh, it's too close, you know, like
The gatekeeper.
Yes.
The gatekeeper. I got to get past the gatekeeper.
yeah, to play with Super Mario 3. Yeah, it was pretty awful.
And did you have to were you not allowed to spend much time playing the Nintendo while you were at your grandma's?
I was only allowed maybe like an hour a day, something like that, now that I really think about it. And back in the day, that was like a grind because there were no such things as like memory cards.
Right.
So you had to beat the game or else that's
Or
it.
you left it on. You turned the television on,
Yeah,
but the
you left-
system stayed on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the system was like bolting in lava by the time you came back home and you're like, well,
Overheating.
Yeah. Like, at least I'm still in the 8th stage, you know, or whatever. Yeah. So I want to move on to the next bit. Every episode I like to review a box of cereal with my guests.
Cereal, wow.
Exactly, right? It's such a good transition. My gosh, I should host a podcast. So I like to review a cereal that has something to do with my guest in some way, shape, or form. So what I did was I spoke to my sponsors over at Funko. And now by sponsor, I mean that I like them and I buy all their products. And by spoke to, I mean that I tweeted them repeatedly and they didn't get back to me. So the cereal that I got for you guys specifically is Super Conan O'Brien cereal.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow.
Now, the reason why I got that for you is because Richie, well, we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but Richie, you're an amazing host for like comedy shows and things like that.
Thanks.
And now together doing Comic Cure together, you guys are like the best hosts in my opinion, you know, like that I know of. And who's the best of the Tonight Show? It's Conan O'Brien, at least arguably.
Out of
you
the
know?
Tonight shows, you think Conan O'Brien's best?
Yeah, absolutely. It's either him or one of the Jimmys, you know? So, but we're going to go ahead and open this cereal. I didn't bring a cereal bowl, so we're going to have to just hand it. Yeah, we're just going to have to hand it.
Isn't that what was the hand job of
This is the actual hand job of cereals right
mean-
there.
We'll have another episode where we have it with milk.
Yeah. And also a fun thing about Funko cereals at the very bottom. Oh, that's great. At the very bottom, not of the actual cereal itself, but
underneath the
underneath
Whoa. What's happening here?
There is a cereal prize.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Talk about fun.
Yeah.
That's great that they keep it separate. I remember you have
Absolutely.
to
Dig through the bottom.
Yeah.
My mom actually remembers when they would put 45s inside of cereals. And I was like, are you serious?
What do
And
you mean,
she's
40
like,
vinyls?
yeah, they would put 45 like 7 inches in there. And she's like, that's how we got that song, Sugar, oh honey, honey. Yeah, that's how they got that song, was through a box of Cheerios or something.
It was a
It's kind
jingle.
of insane. Yeah, it's kind of insane. Anyway.
I didn't know Funko existed.
Really?
Yeah,
That's kind of crazy to me
I never
because
even
they're
heard of
such
it.
a huge company. They're very popular in the nerd realm, as well as like I put stuff on my desk at the office realm.
They're toys.
Yeah, they're toys.
It's a toys. And then the cereal came about as just a way of
As just another
I accidentally
as a
wrote
way
in
of getting
Finko.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finko is something.
What do people love? Toys and cereal.
Well, honestly, even though they're not a sponsor, I do have to thank them because they gave me an idea for my podcast. So, so it always is really great whenever I find all these different ones and I'm like, oh, this reminds me of this person.
Yeah, they
So
got
then-
Flintstone stuff. They got all sorts
So
of cool
this
stuff.
is-
at
Yeah.
Funko.
This
Yeah.
is Team Coco presents Super Conan, and it's got TBS trademark.
Just so you know, not to gloat or anything. This is actually a limited edition Comic-Con version, and I had to do something. I had to like buy it off of eBay just to do this. So
wow.
it's not like something you can just grab at the store.
The sell date is January 06.
No, it's not. That's literally impossible.
It says not actual size, but that is pretty close.
Yeah,
to
that is
actual
pretty
size.
close. Yeah. So I think it would be fun to review this cereal, but what would be more fun is to review this cereal as Conan O'Brien. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play some Tonight Show music, or at least something similar, and we can all take a turn reviewing this as a Tonight Show host, or as Conan, or as your own Tonight Show host, whatever you'd like to do.
It smells like cardboard because I'm sniffing the box.
Oh, man.
Okay. Whenever you're ready.
Hey, everybody. This is Richy Ben Leis, and I am super into Super Conan, this multigrain cereal. It packs a unmistakable orangey taste with a texture that can only be compared to hard gefilte fish.
Gefilte fish.
Something you probably don't want to eat too often or more than once.
Very sticky. This is something your dentist would love.
I can feel the corn syrup going through my veins right now.
I'm more interested in the packaging of the cereal. There's a really cool maze.
Fair enough, yeah.
There's a maze that
In the Conan's
has
face.
Conan's hair.
And it's
I
a
know.
young Conan. It's not like
It is,
Conan.
yeah.
It's like Muppet Babies Conan.
Muppet Babies Conan.
Yeah, that has an interesting aftertaste.
Yeah.
too.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Super Conan cereal.
The cereal you don't really want to eat.
Yeah, it's actually kind of true. I've done.
Have you had it?
Yes.
Yeah,
You guys,
you're
you guys are
not
probably
eating
you guys are probably going to be episode 24, 25 by
That's
the time
had
by the time
Conan?
this comes out. No, not but different Funko cereals, they all taste exactly the same. So
there's different colors.
yeah, they're all just different colors, and there's some where it kind of makes me upset that they didn't do a couple of things that were different. Like, for example, we reviewed the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man for our Halloween episode.
Nice.
They should have put marshmallows in it, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
what the
they-
heck?
what?
It should have just been all marshmallows.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, what the heck, man?
Because you can buy that. You can buy just the Lucky Charms.
Yeah, you can buy them on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
So I want to go into kind
The
of
box?
what. No. I want to go into what you guys are doing now. Tell me about Comic Cure.
Comic Cure is a company where we produce events, we book comedians, and we educate. We educate comics. We assist them in growing their writing and their stage presence, and that allows them to work.
Yeah, and in fact, something that the listeners may not know is that when I moved out to LA, you were one of the first people that ever taught me at least how to write a joke.
Oh, nice.
You know, and so I did a comedy intensive at Flappers.
Oh, yeah.
And Ken Pringle taught me. You were there. That was also when you were just all over that place. You were doing all the auditions. You were hosting all the shows. You were just like overworked at Flappers, from what I can remember.
I produced 50 shows a week with them.
I'm sure.
10,000 spots. I booked 10,000 spots a year.
Holy cow!
Bro,
that's crazy. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got 3 or 4 of those.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good, actually.
Yes.
Right?
There's people who don't get any.
I know. That's actually a pretty good thing.
Comic Cure, I can give the background on
Yeah,
that.
please do.
Comic Cure started like 4 years ago. We just celebrated a 4-year anniversary. We're actually currently doing that right now. I left a promising career at one of the biggest nonprofits here in South Florida, and I didn't know what I want to do next, but I knew I wanted to help more nonprofits. Just didn't know how. So I took some vacation time. Well, I just left my job, so I had plenty of time at this point.
Yeah.
Went to visit Richy in LA. So the first night I was out there, he hosted the pilot taping for Dana Carvey's television show. Nice. The next night, he hosted the cast from Jackass. The next night, it was Elaine Boozler. And I was just like, what is going on here? This is crazy. And I never really paid attention to what he was doing with comedy, even while we were still here in South Florida. And he was really developing his knack at it. And what I found interesting was that someone could get on stage and tell jokes to a room full of strangers and transform how they feel about themselves and completely just turn crowd into an audience that's laughing for an hour to 90 minutes, 2 hours straight. Yeah. And I thought that's pretty powerful that someone can do something like that. But the more inspiring thing to me was that what the messages the comedians were, the jokes that they were telling, and how they were using comedy as a form of therapy to talk about the issues and challenges going on in their life. And I said, now that is special. If you can get the right comedian with the right message in front of the right audience, you can transcend comedy to provide hope and healing for people.
Absolutely.
And that was kind of the founding premise for Comic Cure. Came back and we did the first show with Drew Lynch, who had just come off his runner-up finish on America's Got Talent, right down the street at what was then the Funky Buddha Brewery and Lounge. A couple sold-out shows there. And for those of you who don't know Drew's story, he suffered a concussion, didn't know he had it, went to sleep, and woke up with a severe stutter, which completely transformed his life.
It paralyzes vocal cords.
Yeah.
So, he provided, being on that show, he provided hope and healing for like hundreds of thousands, if not millions of viewers. And we were lucky enough to be one of his first live performances after the show ended. And then the next month, we did the Brickell Comedy Festival. Were you a part of that?
I was.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So, and I ask you that question because we had 35 comedians perform.
Yeah, I know.
We had 2 shows on a Wednesday night in Miami.
Yeah.
One of the most difficult markets in the country. And we had 400 people come out on a Wednesday night to watch live local comedy. But more so, we partnered with Habitat for Humanity on that, because at the time, all the low-income, affordable housing, workforce housing in the Brickell area was getting torn down to build luxury condos and apartment buildings. And I wanted people to recognize that. And what's going on here? We're pushing out the people who work in our city to further lengths and making it more difficult for them to work here. So everything that we have done since in the past 4 years has partnered nonprofit work with the comedy to uplift and engage people around important causes.
Yeah, and didn't you guys do the same in LA as well, right? You guys had a show in LA for Habitat for Humanity?
I don't think we've done Habitat for Humanity in Los Angeles, but we worked with Homeless Healthcare LA.
Okay.
I mean, we're working now with about 250 nonprofits altogether.
Yeah.
They kind of overlap. We just did one in Silver Lake that was Lyme disease, mental illness, homeless health care, and spay and neuter.
Right.
And they actually all overlap. So we connected 5 nonprofits that actually can help each other, and they've since helped each other get grants to support different programs. There's one Bark Avenue Foundation, which is spay and neuter, and they are helping Skid Rover, which is Homeless Healthcare LA. It's homeless pets. So they're helping homeless pets to get spayed or neutered. And then the Wildwoods Foundation, which is education for children about, outside, the planet and nature. And they are also teaming up with Homeless Healthcare so that homeless children can have an education about outdoors as well.
Yeah. And these shows, at least from what I can remember from the flyer that was posted on Instagram, however long it was.
We've had Marilyn Reiska, we've had Jeff Garland.
Yeah.
Who are some of the big names, the other big names that we've had? Kev Adams, who is like the
Preacher Lawson,
Yeah.
Drew, Jackie Cation.
Yeah,
Andy Dick.
The point of it being that these shows are always with huge name comedians. It's never, I mean, yes, you guys always do great things for locals, and I personally thank you for that as well. But just for the audience member, like, it's always going to be somebody that they know of. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
We did an awesome event in Glendale, which was we broke the world record for most comedians on a show. We had 106 comedians.
It was
That's
more.
awesome.
I think it was much more than that. I think after the tally, after we actually watched the video, it was a lot more than that.
Was
I
it?
think the clicker we
couldn't
did
keep
106,
up,
but when we look back, it was crazy. It was that many comedians telling, and we had 3 comedians on stage at a time.
We had 3 mics set up next
So
to
it was
each
a
other like an
rotation.
opera.
Whoa.
Yeah, and each telling a single joke. And what we thought was, with over 100-something comedians, it'll be a 90-minute show.
Sure.
Turned out to be
45
minutes.
Wow.
But it took about 45 minutes just to get everything set up.
Yeah.
As far as we had to have, 50 comics on one side of the stage, 50 comics on the other, all in alphabetical order so that they could just go one after another and we could keep track of it. It was very intense. And we had a Big Mamas and Papa's Pizzas donated.
They're massive pizza.
Yeah, they had brought this pizza that was, I don't know, just like 8 feet by 8 feet.
Size
Holy
of a
cow.
kitchen table.
Yeah.
This was in Glendale?
Yeah.
That was at the Alex Theater, the
Yeah,
historic
the
House
Alex
Theater,
Theater,
where they film a lot of shows.
8 seasons of Last Comic Standing there. They
gosh.
just did the
They did
HBO
the finale of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Curb Your Enthusiasm. They had the HBO comedy specials. Brad Williams filmed a special there.
Kevin Smith was filming his special there when he had his heart attack.
Yeah, the Silent but Deadly one. Yeah, absolutely.
That's
crazy.
Yeah. So it's a vast difference between South Florida and Los Angeles. We're able to pull off really cool stuff like that in LA. You can't really do here as much. But one thing that we're really striving to do is provide platforms for the local comedians. So we try and bring in LA, New York talent so that they can be on the same stage as people like that and network with people like that and learn from them.
As well as we've had students from here because, our education is part of our part of Comic Cure. We teach on both coasts. So we have had students from this coast go out and perform at the Ice House, which is, the oldest comedy club in the country.
Yeah.
So that opportunity alone is, is so unique.
That's crazy. Richie, I wanted to ask you, when did you start stand-up?
I was like 22, 23 years old, and I did it for about 3 or 4 years in Philly. It was awful.
Why is that?
It wasn't much. So before the Laugh House, which was a South Street in Philly comedy club that was urban.
Yeah.
There was one other comedy club, but I don't even remember the name of it. And then there was a bunch of comedy cabarets that were smaller clubs all over Jersey and like Irish pubs and like spare rooms and stuff. And those were great, but you couldn't just get up at them. So we're getting up at like maybe once a month. Then I started producing my own show once a month. And that was the stage time that I was allotted until I moved to Florida. And then I started getting up every single night.
Yeah, absolutely. And you were here for 9 years before you moved out?
8 or 9 years, yeah.
Yeah. And then you moved out to LA and then started working with Flappers.
Yeah, almost immediately. It's like
Okay.
the first 3 months I was in LA, I got that
Holy
job
cow,
at Flappers.
that's really quick. You almost don't get to be a part of the community a little bit.
Yeah, no, I missed out. I'm just now getting to be a part of the community,
Sure.
in the last 4 years. But, and now I'm traveling all the time. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm really only in LA a couple days every couple months.
That's great. Well, I had a question for you. What can you remember over your many years being on stage? What's a funny or embarrassing on stage moment that just sticks in your craw that you'd like to share?
There's so many, but there is one time I was headlining, I think, in Lakeland, Florida, and my buddy Eric Gill was coming in just do a guest spot so I could introduce him to the owner. He lived in that area or something. And I went to the restroom right before getting on stage, and he was talking to me over my shoulder about, I don't remember what it was, his spot or something. And I was trying to kind of pay attention, but also like, hey, let me just go to the bathroom before I get on stage. And they were like basically introducing me, and I looked down and there was a piece of lint stuck to my my pee.
Yeah.
And so I peed all down my pants.
Oh no.
And I got on stage just covered in urine. And you could see that part of my right leg was just all dark, and my left leg was all light denim. And so I just got on stage and I was like, I peed myself.
Right.
Apologize. That was a pretty embarrassing moment.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh.
I had I was hosting for Jeff Garlin not too long ago, and he has a thing where he's very specific about his intro that he likes.
Okay.
And he just wants you to say, ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Garlin. Right. No, give it your next comedian coming to the stage or credits or anything. And I knew this, and I was opening for him a couple months ago. And I totally didn't even ask. And one of my tips for MCs is always ask the comics what they want as their intro. And I totally didn't. I went on stage and I was like, from Meet the Goldbergs,
Oh, no.
Jeff Garlin. And as he's shaking my hand, he's like, this is why I told you not to do an intro, because not Meet the Goldbergs.
Yeah.
It's just the Goldbergs. And I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, currently on TGIF on ABC.
Yeah.
Like, what? From Boy Meets World, Jeff Garlin. Like, what are you talking about?
I was actually at lunch in LA one time. I was meeting with Venice Pride, and Fred Savage was sitting at the table next to us. I was
That's
like, oh,
awesome.
how cool is this? And it was his wife's birthday or something. It's very sweet.
Holy cow. Yeah, I would have
So it was weird when I
loved
interrupted.
that moment.
He was giving her a present. I was like, can I get a picture?
That's sorry. I hate to interrupt this moment. Can you just say Topanga into my phone? That would be great.
Topanga.
Yeah.
Yeah. I follow her on Instagram.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, I think
What
she's
was
just like
what
kids.
was the nerdy kid's name?
Minkus.
Minkus.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, I
right.
didn't remember that.
Minkus.
And Mr.
Minkus.
What was the
Feely?
Mr. Feeney.
Mr.
Feeney.
Feeney.
Mr.
Yes.
Feely was Mr. Rogers.
Yes.
Yes.
That was
Mr. McFeely.
Mr.
Mr.
McFeely.
McFeely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not weird. But yeah, so that's really funny. Oh my gosh.
I would say, but I one of the most memorable shows we've ever had
Yeah.
was the first Palmetto Bay Comedy Festival. We had
Kira
Sultanovich headline, and the venue was an amphitheater. And
600-person amphitheater.
yeah,
Wow.
no, bigger than that, 1,000 easy. And we had sold 200 tickets, and
With the precedence that it was hurricane season.
yeah, it was like May, or it was April. It was
Yeah.
the
It's always
the
hurricane
season was
season. It's
changing.
fine.
The season was changing. The season was changing, and the forecast was not good.
Sure.
And we had sold 200 tickets for a 1,000-seat venue.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
It's going to look empty.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Yeah.
look terrible.
Yeah.
So last minute, we're looking at the radar. It's not looking good.
Oh,
We
no.
take all the chairs and we put them on stage. And
Because
we
the stage is covered.
The stage is
is like a solid.
yeah, it's an amphitheater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stage. So we put all the the chairs
200
on the
chairs
stage,
on stage.
and we put the performer out uncovered under a tailgate tent. And the first 45 minutes show, perfect weather, beautiful. The opening acts, the four of them all had great sets. And then as soon as Kira gets on, it just rolls in, and the lightning and the thunder and the downpour.
Wow.
And so the tent that she's underneath starts filling up with water.
Yeah. It was brutal.
It was crazy. So she's performing, killing it because she's Kira Sultanovich.
Yeah.
But we also had a good friend of ours, Hal Feldman, who's standing underneath the tent with a chair pushing out the water so it doesn't burst. And she's riffing
Our
on the whole
backs
thing.
were soaking wet after performing. Like we were just completely wet. Our backs were totally to the elements.
Yeah.
And the audience knew it. That's what made it so electric, because you're literally fighting the elements.
Of course.
And so were they. I mean, rain was just coming in on the audience from both sides.
No. The audience was completely protected.
No.
I mean, there was some mist coming in, but everyone was protected, and it was the best show ever because everyone was crammed in there. So the laughter was unbelievable.
Yeah. That sounds
and
great.
I mean, to talk about that kind of backdrop and circumstances that are going on, it's something that you just never forget. And of course, once she gets done,
Stops.
the weather clears up.
Of course.
Yeah. So, which was great because then we were able to take photos afterwards. But yeah, that was
It was a pretty sweaty night.
Oh
that
my
was an
gosh.
unbelievable show I will never forget.
That's crazy. What is coming up in the future that you can talk about for Comic Here?
Whew.
Well,
Staying
right
alive.
now we're finishing the Flamingo Comedy Festival.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Finishes
we're in the midst
Friday.
of it. You actually are like here, right in the middle of the festival.
Yeah, today's Wednesday.
We wanted to go big for our anniversary, our 4-year anniversary. And we've been in Boca for the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Boca is probably one of the best markets in the state, if not the country.
I love doing shows here
Yeah.
with you guys. It's always super fun.
For live comedy for a number of reasons, but I also think it's uniquely positioned in South Florida. It straddles Broward and Palm Beach counties. It's a very affluent area. There are a lot of hotel rooms, so creating something big here is scalable, and there are tons of venues all over town.
And good parking.
So
That is true.
and a lot of free parking, something that you're not going to find in other
Miami.
parts of South Florida. Yeah, exactly. So this is the inaugural year for the Flamingo Comedy Festival. We currently have 8 days with 9 events and 10 nonprofit partners. And we're just trying to create an even bigger arts, economic, and philanthropic impact production than we have before. So we have our 3 big headliners for the festival have been Dana Eagle headlining Florida's Funniest Female,
From
which
Last
was
Comic
a
Standing.
sold-out event. We had 260 people on Saturday night. The next day, Sunday, we had Dave Barry. We had 180 people sold out at the downtown Boca Library. And this Friday, we are closing out the festival with Phil Hanley from The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, as well as The Late Late Show. And he was in I Feel Pretty with Amy Schumer. He's an incredible comedian.
He's opening for Nora Jones right now and Aziz Ansari on the road.
Yeah.
So he's doing like 20,000 people at a time.
Yeah.
So those are our 3 big name events. But throughout the festival, we also had we kicked off with a book event with Dana Eagle, her book, How to Be Depressed, a Guide, which is a great humor book about dealing with depression. We did it at the Falk Center for Counseling, which provides low and free mental health counseling to area residents. Then the next day we did a kids show in the afternoon with the amazing Mr. A, who's a 4-time state magic champion here in Florida.
awesome.
He's incredible. And the kids, we did a costume contest. The kids were so funny.
I'm sure they loved it.
Yeah, the photos are fantastic.
Little baby Clark Kent won. He was like a 6-year-old as Clark Kent.
He was great.
That
He had the whole
sounds adorable.
suspenders and the little curl in his hair and the glasses. He was fantastic. And then that night we did Florida's Funniest Female. The next day was Dave Barry. Monday we had a stand-up comedy class taught by Richy, and we had a great turnout for that. Tuesday night was last night. We had comedy-themed trivia with Wilma McAwesome right here in Meisner Park at the Dubliner.
I've always been awful at trivia, but last night our team had 58 points.
Yeah.
And out of I think 70,
Very good.
and I got every one of our points.
What kind
My team's
of
points.
what kind of trivia? Just
It was
comedy.
comedy, so he
Yeah,
did like
sitcoms.
sitcom trivia. He played like music from sitcoms.
Dude, I would have
and you had to guess
annihilated.
You would have
songs.
crushed it.
I would have
Who's the
annihilated
boss got
by
me?
myself.
Who's the boss?
That was
got
the
me.
one I did get.
Yeah, I
I
didn't
was really
get
proud
Who's the
of that.
boss.
Yeah.
I don't remember. And then I didn't know the Abbott and Costello's first names.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
No.
Bud Abbott and Lou Costello.
I didn't know that. Holy cow.
And then they did comedy albums. You know who won awards for this was I thought was funny
An Emmy.
For 3 comedy albums. One was Bigger and Blacker, and I made a joke that it was Amy Schumer.
Yeah.
And I said Amy Schumer and Chris Rock's Bigger and Blacker are 2 totally different specials.
That's crazy. So you answered Amy Schumer sincerely?
No.
Because I was like, you've got to know that's not.
Well, we did pretty good, and actually, all of the city council members had their own team at the trivia,
and they
night.
came in second place.
Yeah, they came in
crushed
second
it.
place.
That's crazy.
The Boca Raton City Council came out last night. It's great to have their support. Tonight we'll be at the Robot Brewing Company to support their weekly All Arts Open Mic that takes place every Wednesday. Thursday, tomorrow night, we're doing LO Elks Bingo at the Elks Lodge down the street. And then Friday we close.
Comedy themed bingo?
Yeah, you're hosting it.
Oh, really? I'm just going to keep on saying bingo.
Yeah.
Mess with all the old people. Damn it. Keep all the Swedish
There'll be
fish
plenty
for
of
myself.
characters, and U.S. John will be there as well.
Oh, yeah.
So he's a character. And then Friday we close out with Phil Hanley and with headlining our United We Stand Up. So we've got a few guys who served in the U.S. military who are also performing stand up. So that is benefiting some disability orgs locally.
That's awesome. And where can people find Comic Cure online?
ComicCure.com.
ComicCure.com.
Yeah, and FlamingoComedyFestival.com.
That's another thing, too, that I wanted to say for our listeners. You guys do a lot of like stand-up classes, like free stand-up classes as well. And that's really amazing because that's not really a thing that happens, very often. You have to, at least when you're out in LA, like you have to pay to take anything. You have to pay for stage time sometimes.
A lot of times. There's a club where you pay $100 a month to get on their open mics.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean,
That's actually a great idea.
And that's common. That's
and
a
actually,
common
people
thing.
pay it.
Yeah.
Because
They just want the stage.
with the $100, you're guaranteed. So their open mic is $5 if you're just doing it and you're in the lottery.
Yeah.
If you pay $100 a month, you can guarantee 10 minutes on every open mic, and you get there and you can get up. So I mean, it's a pretty good deal.
Absolutely. So it's definitely something that if you're interested in, you should take advantage of it because it's not something that a lot of people get.
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as our classes, our intro to stand-up comedy class is a 5-week class. The first class is always free.
Yeah.
So people can come, learn,
We
dip
teach
their
everything
toe
that
in,
you would
learn
need
about
to
it.
do
Yeah.
on your own in that 2-hour class. And if you take the notes and you actually apply what we're saying, then because really classes only allow you different stories and opinions of the teachers, which most of comedy teachers aren't really doing comedy that much, I'd say. But it allows you to just replicate it. And then what we do in the 4 weeks is just really give you that immediate critique that you would get every night by getting on stage, which there's no substitution for writing and performing every day.
Yeah.
That a class isn't going to help you if you're not applying, if you're not performing as much as you can.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, but some people can't get up on stage every night, and they can't get on stage once a week. So this is their opportunity to actually spend 2 hours focusing on comedy that maybe their life wouldn't necessarily allow them to do if they weren't taking a class.
It's kind of like an accelerator. It's like you're getting immediate professional feedback. You're getting dedicated, 2 hours of group workshopping. You're getting a dedicated space. And when we're not in class, we're constantly helping on the writing.
Yeah, what definitely that's what I got from it. What I got from those classes, and even the class that I took at Flappers with you, was it was a place for me where I felt safe to not do well.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
No, true. I mean, that's the one of the things about comedy is that bombing is a part of the process. It's not a negative thing.
Yeah.
That's if you have to be able to learn somehow. There's someone commenting on Instagram how people always hate on paying for mics, but they're all about it because it's better than hoping to get up in
Yeah.
some cities. You're actually
It's
guaranteed a spot, which, if you can afford it, I mean, comedy, it's a lot of people just spend all of their money that they work for on gas and getting to places, which sucks.
Yeah.
You know, it sucks that there's not a place for people who aren't the top 50 comedians that actually is an affordable living. You have to sell other things. You have to market yourself. You have to do podcasts.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we have the graduation show after that, and we've had a few graduation shows where the headliner has been Jimmy Schubert, a guy who opens for Russell Peters right now, who was runner-up on Last Comic Standing, who's
part of this
one of the best in
squad.
the country, who will just come in and crush it. And it's like, for a student to be able to have their first performance with a guy like Jimmy.
Yeah, or even DJ Demers or Jody Miller or Kira Sultanovich. They're great comedians from all over the world, really.
Yeah.
I mean, DJ's from Canada. He was one of those stars from Canada who came in to LA. He got on Conan twice and America's Got Talent in 5 years.
Yeah, that's insane.
And so one other really important piece of this is that on the graduation show, if the student sells a ticket, they get to share in that revenue.
Just like the headliner would.
So,
because that's how headliners make money, is on door deals.
So we're trying to teach the business side of comedy. This is how comedy works.
That's definitely a good thing.
Yeah.
For
So,
sure.
I mean, from our class, people have made their money back twofold just from one class.
That's great.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Man, this has been a podcast. Thank you so much.
This has been a podcast.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys so much for doing this. This was a blast.
Thanks for having us.
Where can people find all of your stuff online? Obviously, comiccure.com. Is it at Comiccure on Instagram and all
Social
that?
media is all the same.
Absolutely. The best way to find out about our shows, since we have an irregular schedule, is to sign up for our email list where we send out all the notifications.
And richyleis.com as well?
richyleis.com and RICHYLEIS on all social media.
Absolutely.
And YouTube. I got a YouTube thing. We're doing bathroom beatbox.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's another thing that we didn't get to. Other than doing stand-up, you also beatbox as well. And you also incorporate it into your act, which is great.
You know, when I was young, comics said, everything from your life that you've learned, that's where you're at right now, is how you can utilize everything you've learned into what your performance is.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, yeah, maybe I should try beatboxing. I can do that.
That's great, man. Lastly, for me, you can find me at Instagram at Mike Valdes, on Twitter at I am Mike Valdes. You can go to whoismikevaldes.com to find out the answer to that question. And that's it, man. This has been an episode. Thank you so much for listening. Subscribe, tell all your friends so we can grow this family. Have a great week. Bye, besties.